Hello everybody, and welcome to another machine with S1REN from Offensive Security. So today we're going to be working not directly off PG Play or PG Practice. We're going to be using another platform that Offensive Security owns called Vulnhub. Vulnhub is an incredible resource for new students or people that just want to practice or submit their own machines. Vulnhub, for me, when I was working to become an OSCP, was an incredibly useful resource. Extremely useful. So we're going to cover one of my favorite series ever. And it's called the DC series. That's DC-1 through DC-9. You can download them off Vulnhub, import them into VirtualBox, set your network adapter, and launch the machine. It's really that simple. So that's what we're going to do here today. And if I can, we'll just swap over to our source. Okay. And we should be good now. Let me just verify real quick that we have unpaused. We certainly have. Alright, so I've gone ahead and tossed up the machine on my network. Here it is. Say VirtualBox right here, DC-1 login, and it's running. I've gone ahead and grabbed the IP address and exported it, no different than we would do on PG Play or PG Practice. So if I echo the IP, there we are. Now I'm going to use Nmap, and we're going to do -p- to cover all 65,535 ports. Then we're going to do -sc for simple scripts, -sv for service version. We're going to perform this on our target IP, and we're going to tack on --open. I'm going to go ahead and let this scan. And the cool thing about downloading a machine and tossing it up on some local low latency network is just that it's very low latency. So this scan should be done in theory very quickly. And there we are. So it's done. And we're going to go ahead and copy this over. Let me just, I have a trackpad here. We're going to copy this over, copy, and same as before, we're going to move it into Cherry Tree. And there it is. Paste as plain text. And I'm just going to do some highlighting. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get started kind of enumerating out these services. It looks like we have 80, or the web. We have port 22, which is going to be our SSH. You'll have to pardon my voice right now. I'm actually kind of recovering, and I hope I get better soon. So it's a little bit hoarse, but we're getting through it. So nonetheless, on the target machine, we've enumerated that we have Debian. The target machine is Debian. In fact, I see double confirmation of this. And we're going to add that to the top here, that our target machine type is Debian. Now, we were able, through HTTP robots, to get back a bunch of entries. And just from visuals, I see like install.mysql.txt /cron themes includes modules. This is definitely some kind of CMS. Actually, it's right here. It's a Drupal CMS. So we're going to highlight that. For those who don't know, a CMS is a content management system. And it essentially allows you to toss up a website, log in, make blog posts, upload videos and media. This is the type of thing that a CMS or content management system for some of the newer people. That's the type of thing that it is. Let me just bring this over this way. And we're going to go up here to our to try list. I'm going to put 22 SSH and 80 HTTP and 111. We have, it looks like RPC. I don't see anything that would be indicative that our PC would be handling any network file shares. So because of that, well, we'll get to that in a moment. And then the high port is going to be more RPC, 38,907 RPC. And we're going to move SSH kind of to the bottom of our list right now. The reason for this is because we don't have any usernames. We have no usernames, we have no passwords, we have no keys, SSH keys, with which we can throw at the machine. We've gathered none of that. So this is kind of actually the last thing until we're able to gather some of that information or potentially find a weak service with which we can exploit. So let's go ahead and do just that. One thing that I do want to do though is grab my IP address, or not mine, excuse me, to be more the target machine's IP address. Let's put that in our notes as well, so we stay consistent. So the operating system is going to be Debian. Here's our target IP. It's a private IP range. For those who don't know, a private IP range can be something like 192.168. You've seen those IPs like 172.x or 10.0.1.1 or whatever it might be. Those are some private IP address spaces. So nonetheless, let's go ahead and launch up a web browser. And we're going to do a little bit of manual enumeration. So the enumeration is pretty light on this machine. This is the beginning of a very large series. I should iterate one more time. Next week we're going to be doing a Windows machine. If you want to post feedback in the Discord, then we can absolutely go through that there. But that one more Windows machine is what we can do from PG practice. I just wanted to get the new series kind of kicked off. So let's go ahead and launch Firefox. I'm just going to open up a terminal here. I'll open up one of these. Let's just type Firefox. Cool. And we have the IP. We paste it in, and we're here. Awesome. Let's check out that finding the nmap found. For some context, here's /robots.txt. Look familiar? This is the output from nmap. This is the robots check that nmap had. Nonetheless, what are some things that we need to start thinking now that we see that this is, powered by Drupal? What are some things we need to start thinking here? Are there default credentials, right? So manual enumeration. Do we have default creds? Error message username enumeration. Some of the simpler findings or simpler things that we can utilize. Let's go ahead and just Google Drupal default credentials and see what shakes loose. What is the default user pass? There is no default. So that doesn't really work in our favor in this particular case. There may or may not be guest credentials. But nonetheless, that is not the point of this. One thing that we want to demonstrate is that we don't necessarily have the version. So we've identified that we have a CMS, but really more than this, what we need, this is not applicable, so I'm not going to clog it up. Error message username enumeration. If I type in admin ASDF, sorry, unrecognized username or password. So we might not, I don't exist. Yeah, unrecognized username or password. So have you forgotten your password? We could try error message username enumeration through that. I don't exist at, I don't know, gmail.com. Enter new password. Okay. Is not a recognized email. Admin at localhost. Okay, not. So just checking for some error message user enum not present. What we want to do though is we want to identify some versioning, and there is a tool that we can utilize called DrupScan. DrupScan is potentially actually pretty cool. So we're going to type -- help. Oops. DrupScan -h, I think it is. Huh. let me take a quick look at this. So what we're going to do essentially is use DroopScan. I actually had to do a pip3 install. Right here, pip3 install DroopScan 1 is equal to 1.44.1 in order to get it working. I guess there was an update. But nonetheless, DroopScan, and we're going to type scan Drupal, and -u for URL, HTTP, and let's grab our IP from Cherry Tree, the target machine, .1.128 on port 80/. And we're going to hit the return key, and the reason we're going to be using DroopScan is because the fact of the matter is that whenever there's a content management system, we want to make sure that we're using the correct tool for the job. So whether it be Joomla and JoomScan, Drupal and DroopScan, WordPress and WPScan, whatever it is, we want to make sure that we're using the right tool for the job. So we're going to go ahead and just let DroopScan go here. I'm not going to waste your time too much, so I'm going to pause the video here, and once this is done, I'll unpause it, and we'll kind of blip through time a little bit. So be right back. Okay, so we're back. After a couple thousand requests, DroopScan has finished, and we've got a bunch of information here catered towards the content management system. So I'm going to bring this over to here. I'm going to put this under other for now, even though this is web, just because I kind of wanted to stand out here. But we have ctools, views, profile, PHP, so we know the web tech, image, themes found, 7 in Garland, so defaults. Possible versions include 7.22 through 7.26. This is a good thing for us. This is a very good thing for us. If we search the exploit database by typing search exploit Drupal, and let's just put in 7, and let's put in the word remote. Yeah. There is something that exists, a remote code execution, you might say, for anything less than 7.58. It was known as Drupal Geddon. I know what you're thinking. Drupal, anything up to 7.58? My goodness. Yeah, that is exactly why it was denoted Drupal Geddon. It was disastrous, quite frankly. So what we're going to do is actually get a little practice with the Metasploit framework. We're going to type MSF console. We're going to let this load. And then we're going to do something similar. We're just going to search for Drupal. And let's see what shakes loose. So we have a bunch of versions of Drupal Get in here. I know we're delivering over multi-HTTP, so regardless of platform, these multi ones are pretty rare. But multiple delivered over HTTP, Drupal Get, and we're going to try this. So we're going to copy it. We're going to type use, and then Control-Shift-V to paste that. We'll type options. Let's actually clear this out so it's a little more legible. And we're going to need that IP address. So I'm going to Alt-Tab into Cherry Tree, and we're going to grab that IP address. And we're going to set the R hosts to 192.168.1.128. It could be entirely different for you. Probably is. There's a 1 in 254 chance that it is different. So, or actually, you know what? I think you get my point. So, we're going to type info. And we have remote port is equal to 80. This is not using SSL. Target URI. And I think the chance would be 254 to 1 that it would be different in favor. I think it was just bugging me, that statistic. But nonetheless, target URI, I think the odds would be 254 to 1. Because you have 255, one at least reserved for DNS or reserved for the gateway. But nonetheless, target URI, which would really make it maybe 243. I digress. Target URI is /, and we don't really need anything else, but let's read through this a little bit. What is it doing? You know, we don't just want to go throw payloads at something. What is this doing? This module exploits the Drupal HTTP parameter key value SQL injection, aka Drupal-getten, in order to achieve a remote shell on the vulnerable instance. This module was tested against Drupal 7 and 7.31. Two methods are available to trigger the PHP payloads on the target. Set target 0, form cache PHP injection, that's the default. This uses the SQLI to upload a malicious form to Drupal's cache, then trigger the entry to execute the payload using a pop chain. And set target 1 is user post injection method. This creates a Drupal user, adds it to the administrators group, enables Drupal's PHP module, grants the administrators the right to bundle PHP code in their post, creates a new post containing the payload, and previews it to trigger the payload execution. As you can see, it's the end of days for Drupal. So we have Drupal-getten, at least back then. So we're going to go ahead and type run, or by the way, you can type exploit, whichever you choose. I just type run. So we type run, and starting a reverse TCP handler, we're listening on 4444, sending the stage 38,247 bytes. I believe that's base 64 encoded. And then interpreter session 1, it says, is opened. Great, so we just really need an ounce of patience. Awesome. So we've got a shell. Now that we have a shell, hey kitties, I'm sorry. I apologize. I have pets, but nonetheless, and they play rough sometimes. But I'm gonna type shell, and we're gonna do ls-lsa. Now, if I try to clear, this is not gonna work. It's gonna say that the term environment variable is not set. Had to unpause there for a moment. Technical difficulties. But we're gonna type breakout. We're gonna use my breakout command. No different. Is Python here? Yes, it is. So we're just going to use regular old Python to import a valid TTY, of which we have now on dev pts0. We're going to export the path, export the term to be 256 color, and alias LL to clear everything and list out everything in a human readable format with color. This time we don't actually need to control Z for a stable shell because we have an interpreter session, which is awesome. So there we are. Now what we're going to do, oh, and there's our flag. What we're going to do from this point is we're going to start checking for pretty much anything that we can use to escalate our privileges on the machine. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start out of the home directory. Just kind of tradition. Flag 4. And it looks like we have a bash log out. We do have a bit of a bash history. So that's really it for the home directory. Let's check world writables. Nothing here. What about /temp? Nothing there. Dev shim? Nothing there as well. So, well, we have tempfs. If I run file on .tempfs, what do we get? It's empty. What could we do for kernel payloads if we wanted to launch a kernel payload at this? We'd do uname-a, and we'd copy this over to our notes under other. We'd cat etc *-release. And it looks like we have Debian 7 Wheezy, which is kind of apt because I'm a little wheezy today. But that is okay. And the next thing we have is you can cat the issue, etc issue. And here it is, Debian GNU Linux 7. Another thing you can do for compilation purposes, since we're talking about kernel payloads, is run file on the native bin bash or bin shell, bin zsh, whatever it may be. And we end up getting that this is an ELF 32-bit LSB executable. Awesome. So if we ever do need, as an absolute last resort, to do any kernel payloads, then we can certainly use this information we've enumerated for that exact purpose. Sorry about that. Let me just make sure we're recording. And we certainly are. Again, more technical difficulties. I don't doubt that after this video, some people online will begin referring to me as the cat lady. And that's totally fine with me. So we'll get away to takeaway concepts, but before that, let's go back to the machine. We've addressed compilation options. Let's do PSAUX grep-i root -- color equals auto. Oops. Let's do that one more time. PSAUX grep-i for anywhere there's root -- color equals auto. So is there anything running? Let's go down. What you want to do is go down through these system brackets. Everything that would be required for like system boot, right? ext4, etc. We have udev. That's pretty interesting. Cough, cough. But nonetheless, it looks like we have appit, rsyslog, cron, perhaps. We're going to go here, and we're going to say maybe cron. We could inspect the I/O operations. Inspection of I/O operations on the machine with pspy, and that would be pspy 32-bit. If we wanted to do that. And the next thing we can do here is actually go ahead and check the network. netstat-tunlp. And it looks like, well, let's recall what we're looking for. If we want to escalate our privileges from a network perspective, we're going to be dealing with a network service that's connected strictly to localhost. So that is to say, that from the outside, on our nmap scan, this would not have shown up as a running service because it's operating locally only and communicating through the loopback adapter 127.0.0.1. And we certainly do have a couple here. We have MySQL. Let's pull that out. In fact, I have an idea. What if we netstat-tunlp and grep-i 127.0.0.1 -- color equals auto. There is all of what we need if we were going to go with that. 25 also looking very interesting. So perhaps SMTP or something like that. So MySQL 25.979. UDP, I don't recall from 979. I don't recall from memory what that would be. But perhaps that warrants further investigation. That's another cool thing about Offensive Security's Vulnhub, is that you can download these machines and you don't have to wait on any resource or anything other than yourself. And you can boot up the machine, so on and so forth, reboot it as you choose, and it's all pretty great. So we're going to go, now that we've checked the network, running processes, let's check out Etsy. Let's list out the password on Etsy password. List out the permissions. We don't have the ability to write to that. That's unfortunate. Let's list out everything else. Is there anything in here that's not root or root shadow? Or root daemon? Let's take a look. What we're really looking for is somewhere, we had a user in the home directory. Let me explain. It was named flag4. See, user and group flag4. If that appeared anywhere in here, or to say that flag4 did anything particularly interesting on the machine, then it would appear here. And we might be able to write to that directory. Our target might be to become that user. Really, you do always want to try to become a real user if nothing else is playing out. And yes, I do mean trying to become a real user before kernel payloads, but sometimes you can't be the real user, and you can only be www data. And as a result, or a resultant of that, kernel payloads then become more viable. So let's go back and let's go ahead and check for mail. Is anything here? No mail present on the machine. Okay, so we're really scraping, but let's do one last thing. We're going to check for SUIDs and GUIDs. I'm sure you've been screaming, "Siren, check for the SUIDs and GUIDs. Check for the SUIDs and GUIDs." Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. And it looks like we did find something, a couple things actually, of interest. So what we're going to do is, oops, I actually want to hop over to the web browser, is let's take this time to go to, that was me trying to install Drupal, the latest version, or DrupScan. But we're going to search for something called GTFO bins. What is GTFO bins? GTFO bins is a collection of privilege escalations that have existed over decades for ways to obtain execution of the, /bin shell, or like bin bash, through the use of these SUIDs and GUIDs. Now, I would continue to GUIDs, that is group user ID, but we have one here that is particularly exotic. In fact, we have two that are particularly exotic. That might not stand out to most people, but as you become more experienced, I promise these things will stand out. I promise. Yeah, my promise on that, my word. We have find and XM4. There is a privilege escalation out there, a really big one, that exists for XM version 4, or XM4. If you want to take a look into that, then that is definitely something you can do. We're going to try and go non-destructive though. So let's go back to GTFO bins, and we're going to go for find. We're going to type, now we have this as SUID. No, we're not running it, don't have permissions for sudo. We don't have, it's not shell functions, so we're going to be doing SUID. And what we're going to do is copy this, and we're going to explain what the heck is going on. In fact, I'm going to paste this here. We're going to remove this just to demonstrate. So anything that is SUID is going to be by nature setting the user ID to 0. That is, UID equals 0. If I type like ID here, we have our UID equals 33. That's www data, or www. In this case, we have set user ID, or SUID binaries, is what we call them, conveniently, because that's exactly what they do. So if we can find a way to leverage the native find command for code execution, then we're golden. And that's precisely what we're going to do. I'm going to paste this in. It's going to say find in the current directory anything. That is to say, if anything exists. Go forward and dash execute bin shell. And, well, we're just going to run this here, and we're going to see what happens. In fact, yes, it does. So this is why I paused there, because GTFO bins will also explain to you what's going on. So let's see here. Like, if the binary has SUID set, which it does not drop the elevated privileges and may be abused to access the file system, escalate, or maintain privileged access as a SUID backdoor. If it is used to run sh-p, that is as privileged. So we run the -p here, and the reason I kind of skipped on that is because it is a concept from another machine that's very important, actually made by one of our employees and one of my dear colleagues named Falcon Spy. I'm sure if you're hearing my voice right now, you probably know who Falcon Spy is. If not, join our Discord and you will. But this little -p, simple little option, very elegant. And what it means is it means run the prior executable or binary with effective privileges. So we go ahead and do that. And if anything goes wrong, -quit, you could also be like exit 0 or something. And illegal option -p. It doesn't seem to like that. In fact, we lost our channel. Let's go back. I'm going to break out, grab our valid TTY, export the path, and let's try running that out of the bin directory. And see if we can determine why that didn't work. Now it says sh unknown option -p. That's fine. What I'm going to do instead is run bash -p. And the ./ denotes that we want to run that out of the current working directory. So in particular, it's not really needed, but we'll do that anyway. And it says, find no such file or directory. Which find? Of course, it's user bin. So let's try that now. Remember, ./ means out of the current working directory. And we have root on the target machine. And just to demonstrate that you actually really wouldn't need that, just to prove, I'm going to exit, and we're going to jump back to our low priv shell, and I'm going to include find. We're going to go to the root here, the web root, or excuse me, the root file system, and if we list everything out, just to prove it, there we are. Let's launch it again with no ./. Notice that's not present, but because we have our environment variables set, like our breakout command, it should be able to find it just fine. And it does. And if we type ID, we are now root. And touch some data, and we have some data. So that is our machine here called DC-1. And that's root. And as we used to do, bling bling. One final note here on this machine before I pause actually. You would go to the root directory as anything else, even though this is a Vulnhub machine. You would cat the proof file here. I believe we have cat the final flag.txt. Cat the final flag.txt. There we are. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and learned some new skills. You can let me know what you thought of this little journey by contacting me via Twitter, DCAU7. Awesome. And then we do ifconfig, and we'd go ahead and type hostname and ID to confirm our effective authority over the machine. Then we're going to do shift print screen, and this screenshot would be used for evidence and proof within your formal report. We'll clear this out. So I do want to bring, before we conclude this video, I do want to show something that we've recently released on our website. If you go to offensivesecurity.com, we have 2 new courses, 200 level or foundational level courses, SOC 200 and Web 200. This is kind of like a first. SOC 200 is very much a first for offensive security. It's kind of a blue teaming course. And I'm hearing things crashing in my kitchen. So definitely things going on there. But nonetheless, we have also the Web 200. And this one is the one that I also have assisted with. And if we click on web applications, you can see we have learned more. And all I can say is that I'm pretty proud of this one and all the work that my colleagues did as well. And there's a lot more coming. In fact, you can download the course syllabus if you really wanted to from directly from our website. And coming soon is going to be server-side request forgery, command injection, and insecure direct object referencing. But we cover quite a lot, and we're very excited about it. Very excited. I like the owl. Nonetheless, let me just pause for a moment. And that's pretty much going to go ahead and conclude it for this particular video, or this session. I've gotten a lot of messages of whether or not I plan to go back to twitch.tv. The answer is probably yes. Falcon and I may go back to twitch.tv and do some of our community, because we do really love that community interaction. We really do. Let's say maybe quarter one. Give it some time. Quarter one of 2022. And then maybe we can head back to Twitch. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all the positive comments. We're very happy to be of service to you and to help you and to introduce you into this field and kind of light the gasoline or light the nitrous that'll launch you into space to make you your own efficient penetration tester, your own motivated penetration tester. And enthusiastic as well. We try to get people very enthusiastic about this. So, at least I know I am. Thank you guys very much. And I look forward to doing another machine next week. Take care.